everyone for the 28-day practice, which is actually day 20. And it was around observing your emotions, which is the body mind, or actually it was in the awareness theme. I was thinking body mind because obviously our emotions are starting in our bodies, and then thoughts arise, and then we have a response to it, which is usually starts with an emotion, and then we're reacting towards or responding towards that emotion. And so the practice was really just observing our emotions whenever something comes up. It could be joyful, it could be sad, it could be just indifferent. It's just like, I got no emotion. I really, like, there's a topic somebody's talking about and I just don't care, right? And so really becoming aware of these moments when emotions come into play, which actually is all the time. We have emotions all the time. At least that's my perspective. And today I got Diana here joining me on this call. Hello.
Hi, nice to be here.
And obviously I'm going to have her input on like observing emotions, etc., etc. And at the same time, this is really an exploration. Like, it's always fun. Most of these sessions I've done on my own because this is not a time that most people can join me. But if I have people that can join me, even better. And so we can have actually a conversation around this topic and how it shows up for each one of us in a different way. So many of you might have known Diana already. For those who don't, Diana has been in this world of sharing thoughts and being around mindful being for a while now. And yeah, I mean, just speak a little bit about yourself now that you're here.
Yes, hello, thank you, Raditya. Yes, we met quite a while ago online during COVID lockdown, and we've been chatting ever since. It's been inspiring. Yes, I'm quite newly certified stress therapist and hypnotherapist for a moment. So I'm working with stressors, but also emotions is a big part of it. And I love sharing this with you, Raditya, and I love your 28-day challenge because it just reminds me of the tools I am myself using. But actually, I learned some new things from your tools and from your links, especially when you link to different journals and helped me to see things that I actually haven't known yet. So it's really interesting and just reminding ourselves, to be present, to be mindful, to be aware of our both bodies and thoughts and our emotions. So I'm just excited to be here with you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And hearing your new field of focus, or rather work, right, around stress, obviously emotion must be a very central piece on how we cope with stress. I just had a burnout presentation, like moving from burnout to balance. And it is just interesting. We're all really on edge a lot of times, be it because of world events or just family challenges that we're facing, or at work, or just a lot of things that are coming into our awareness. And so, talking about emotions, I personally, I'm not always the best on just observing them. So obviously that practice was very much for me. All the practices that we've done, they're a reminder, literally, like you said, right? It's not that we don't know these things. It's just to really make them a habit, to make these suggestions something that we want to do on a regular basis. We need reminders, and that was what the 28-day was for. And I think this is the fourth day we're talking about, so there's going to be 3 more days that we're going to explore different topics, the different themes. So each theme had their own session. But let's dive into this conversation around emotion. So what does it really look like? How does it come up when I have strong emotions? I just shared briefly with Diana that there was a moment that I was not observing my emotions, and it can become frustrating for all parties involved, because obviously I'm sitting on this side and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about observing our emotions, and kind of like leading the way. And yet I just will tell for myself, I'm not the pro here, right? Because we're all being exposed to all the things that are happening, our experiences, etc. And so that can sometimes cause us to find ourselves in a stressful situation. So before I go further, what comes to mind to you? And just as I'm talking about stress, I was like, ooh, let's get a take on
Well,
Diana's
you know,
perspective.
I
Yeah.
can talk a lot about stress. I will not do that now because from my own experience and from my now new field as well. But yes, emotions can be very triggering for us, and we all learn to deal with them in so different ways. And that's what I'm thinking about when you're talking about that, because and we all are humans. Even the therapists, we all also sometimes we're very good at feeling and seeing and acknowledging our emotions, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we are acting out on them, or sometimes we are holding in, which is also a big problem as well, because then afterwards either we explode or we, you know, encapsulate it in our bodies, and it shows up in different other ways, like burnout, maybe an illness, or something ache in the body or something like that, because our emotions are more bodily sensations and they can get stuck in it. And it's so important to realize them, but also I think it's so important during this journey also just to remind ourselves that we all are human beings, and we all are during our journey, and will not always be able to feel the emotions in the moment, even though it would be the best and we wish to. And just try to, if we would aware, we are aware of that later on, I think it's a good idea then to remind ourselves and give us space to feel it later. And I don't know if I can share it for you, because what comes up to my mind, it was especially with me, like, you know, I had a lot of grief and loss in my family, and it just came one and after another, one and after another. And in some situations I thought I had time to grieve and, you know, gave me myself space. But now I realize that I haven't all the time, because everything was happening all at once, and I had to be strong and hold space for people, like for 4 years straight. And now when it's actually everything is fine and everyone is healthy and everything is good, now my body is starting to get to that. And sometimes I can get very sad without understanding why, until I understand that it's the old grief and sadness that is coming, and I just have to sit in it and let it flow through me, you know, and it's okay.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that piece. Obviously, we're not going to go into this topic extra because I could talk lengths. I have two 4-hour workshops coming up around grief and gain. And so obviously this is like, yeah, a lot information. And but I really appreciate it, because what makes so much sense about it is that there is a practice with observing our emotions, right? There are these moments where we feel very strongly about a particular, maybe some way somebody said it in a certain way and it just made us, you know, explode or whatever, right? Overreact. And so I'm not focusing on those single moments, because those will always happen. There's always going to be something that we didn't even realize, we weren't even aware of. And like you said, maybe something happened years ago, and only now can I actually feel these experiences and feel those emotions and be with it. And so the practice really of observing our emotions is happening on these, you know, mundane everyday things, right? Like, oh, how does it taste when I'm having a tea or a coffee, or drink some water, or whatever these moments are? See the sun shining, like, oh, and I gives me this warm feeling, right? Or right now it's raining outside, it's like, oh, it gives me this cozy, maybe even like a melancholic kind of feeling of like, oh, where's the sun, you know, kind of, I don't know. And so when we are aware of those moments that are more mundane, when actually these bigger emotions are coming up, we can take that time that we need, but we're going to come back to that everyday life much quicker, right? It doesn't throw us into like this whirlwind or something that we then like losing ourselves completely. It might just be in that spur moment, and then we can catch ourselves again, and then we need a little bit of time to move through it and like figure out, okay, how do I go about this, and revisit at a later time when it is right to talk about it, or to just let it be and let it take its course, right? So like you said, give ourselves some space, moving away from the particular situation. And that to me is where the practice really comes in handy, is that we can really take that step back and realize, okay, that was a moment in time, and now how can I come back to this person that I truly am, right?
Yeah. And it's always like you and for you and me, it's always this awareness. Always. I mean, that's what it is. Awareness of your body, awareness of your emotions, and also compassion with yourself and allowing yourself to be with it. And sometimes it can be scary to be with emotions. And because we have all these thoughts and stuff like that, even though mundane things can be scary sometimes, but just reminding ourselves just to be with it. And I mean, I love that reminder that if we just let it be, it just takes 90 seconds to go through our body. And if we don't, tell a lot of stories and got stuck in it. So it just that it's for me in my own grief, it has been really reassuring, it's like, well, everyday life when something comes up and, you don't know how to handle it, you just remind yourself that, okay, this is just a feeling and I have to feel it and it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's anger, if it's sadness, or if it's joy. I mean, all of it. So yeah. But yeah, the awareness part, again, when you talk, it's just the words that come up to me.
Yes. And I always say awareness is the first step, right? Without awareness, what actions will you take? But awareness is not enough, right? Awareness is amazing. And yet we need to take another step beyond awareness to really make it livable and also make that difference, because I could be aware of a lot of things. It's like, oh, I'm aware of my emotions and that the rain is, but if I'm not going to adjust, or rather help myself to cope with the weather, for example, right? And like not fall into this melancholic experience every single time it's raining, right? Or when it's dark or whatever, then I'm not going to help myself. But once I recognize, like, oh, I really like, whenever the weather is like a certain way, then it makes me feel a certain way. So what could I do, right? Like that's really what observing our emotions can help us with. What can I do to make this experience better? And so at the end of the day, it could be light a candle. Like that to me is like the best, right? Light a candle, have some tea, and call a friend and have a chat, right? Like that to me makes any weather great. Like it doesn't matter, storms, whatever, COVID, right? It really doesn't matter. So really recognizing what are the little things that will bring me joy, even if it's just for, like you said, that spur moment, right? As fast as an emotion can come, we can also create new emotions just as fast. But it's something we have to do mentally. We have to really dedicate and have like this intention of wanting to be a different way. And unless I'm allowing it, it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. For me, it's like for me, first observing, allowing it to be, and then not get stuck in it. And then, as you say, make a change, make something. So for me, you said light a candle, call a friend. For me, also call a friend. But for me, also, as you know, it's going to nature. It's just so healing. Just it gives me joy. Oh, spending people with, my kids and just people I love, and just it helps me come out of that, if I get stuck in an emotion or something. It just helps me to, as you say, change how I feel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nature is always one of the best resources. And I mean, especially you who have followed along the 28-day practice, right? You recognize like almost every single one had something to do with nature, like even taking a deep breath, like we are nature, right? So by focusing on our breath, it really is something about nature and embracing air, which gives life to nature in general. And then movement, any movement is like a natural way of being, right? And so yeah, integrating it into nature obviously is amazing. And so if we don't have enough time to do that, and if we are not really finding a way to able to connect to nature, at least look outside the windows that you have. Like I know it's not enough. And yet it can already give a sense of pause, reflection, and observation.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, as you said, the breath as well. I mean, I forgot about mentioning that, but the breath has also been very important in my journey.
Yeah.
And just getting but it also helps you to move through the emotions if they are, I mean, I'm not talking about joyful emotions because you don't need to have help moving through them. You just feel them and feel great. But I mean, for more maybe uncomfortable emotions, it's really great just going back to your breath and breathing and back to your body, and it really is helpful. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and so I mean, just to conclude this, subject of observing our emotions, I mean, one, do you have any thoughts that need people should maybe no shoulds, but something they could consider as they're moving through emotions, like something that you do that doesn't require many, getting out of your way, something that you can do in this moment?
No, but just breathe, just observe your body. It's one of the things, but also just it's part of the havening technique. Hug yourself, and if it just like breathe and hug yourself, and it also calms your nervous system at the same time, but also lets you just be. you know or as you said, moving, if it's like anxious energy, it depends what kind of energy you have. I mean, you really need to this awareness to check in and see what kind of energy is in my body and how do I need to move it, because as you say, emotions is in our body, but it's also in moving. They are moving, so it's a way also to move the body, and just like as you say, dance, just put some music on and just dance for a few minutes or sing or whatever, and just let it out of your body as well. It could be one of the things,
Yeah.
depending how strong they are and what it is. And I mean, anxiety, for example, is very good to shake your body, for example, just shake it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And obviously, that leads right back to the last um, video we did about shaking our bodies. It's exactly that point that we made there. And so, what's interesting, I find one aspect that we haven't really touched on is what it will do for the other people across from you, right? That if I am unable to, then obviously that also will lead the other person to feel a certain way, right? So I don't want to, and I'm acknowledging because of my personal experience of like when I'm sharing something strongly, and as we spoken many times in the past about expressing ourselves strongly, etc. And so that has a huge impact on the other people because they have a certain way of observing their emotions, having a connection to their emotions. And yet there's only so much we can do for the other people, right? We have to focus on ourselves and figure out what works for us, because even if all these tools that we're sharing are great tools, obviously solutions for the problem, we have to decide on our own terms when what works. And so that's when, in connection with other people, it's not going to be a solution by just letting them know, hey, why don't you just do that? Like, that's going to help you, right? We want to, and this is what this 28-day really was about, is for you and for myself to figure out like what works for me, because something that works for me might not work for you. And yet, even if I'm in connection with somebody else and we just talked about it, for example, oh, let's shake ourselves out, that might not be fitting right in this moment. Maybe wanting to go through our emotions means I want to be in solitude. I want to be by myself. I want to just reflect back to myself, like what just happened, right? And so only later on can we come back and meet this person again to really reconcile and just share the opinions, even if there is no reconciliation happening, but at the very least, a reconciliation with ourselves. So yeah, I just wanted to add that part as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it is so true. And here we come back to awareness again, awareness of your own body, your own thoughts, your own sensations, and what is good for you. That's why I'm saying awareness for me is like in front of everything. Even though it's start, it's still an awareness of and just knowing yourself better, knowing what works for you. Because I know for me, it is like talking to people, getting it out when I'm sad. I want a hug, for example. But I know, for example, my husband, he doesn't want to hug. He wants to hide in his own. And for me, it took many years to accept that and to give him that space. But I mean, it's no judgments where everyone needs different ways to, as you say, to let the emotions out. And that's why one of the things I do in my practice too is just to listen to the whole person and let them, I can give some tools, but I let them choose the ones that fit them, because I never know. We don't know, because even though we are similar as human beings, we are still unique in our own ways. And we see, even though our bodies are similar, they are still unique. So, I mean, we process emotions uniquely, even though there are similarities and we can share tools, as you say. Still, every one of us needs to choose one that fits ourselves.
Yeah.
And it helps to have the awareness of what works for you.
Yeah, so true. And I think the ultimate conclusion is that the emotions only last for about 90 seconds. So just stand by, stand by your emotions for 90 seconds. Take those breaths you could take while you're moving through them, whichever way you choose to. And always know that you are in charge of your own life. So don't let yourself be pushed around from external factors. Just figure out a way that brings some contentment and peace to yourself. And so that's really what emotions want. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, just like you. So listen to your emotions, acknowledge them, and just be kind to yourself. So that's literally what emotions ask us to do, is to be kind to ourselves, give grace, and let those emotions out sometimes. It's not the worst. At least that's what I'm saying. I feel like great sometimes when I can let it out. Although, again, the repercussions of other people's experiences is not in the debate right now. It's just how I feel. So, again, we need to take it in. How do we experience these moments? And so, all I want to say is thank you, Diana, for being here with me today, exploring a little bit about this topic of emotions and how to observe them, and that there are so many different tools. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's been lovely being here with you again.
All right, take care. See you all
Bye.
next time.